studios called Makking and Bij in Rotterdam. But I want to introduce him on a different quality he has, and this is somehow a sort of forgotten quality throughout time, and that he's a very good teacher and an educator. He taught for a long time on different schools, RCA, design school in Eindhoven, and now is the dean of a master degree, Sandburg Institute. Please welcome the best teacher of the world in design, Mr. Jurgen Bij.
Yes, let's put the rope very high, like a huge mountain that I now can fall off easily. So, which happened to be also the topic, the learning from Sandburg, and then doing it at the institute, but doing it in the institute because I think it's a broad thing. I'm just like part of an institute. But somehow, sand is a very good place to start from. We had, like when I studied Learning from Las Vegas, which was a very important book, because it brought like the new world, because it was like just sand, and it had to be discovered and made in its own world, very economically driven. And then we got like Learning from Dubai, and if you see in 1990, that's above, and then 2003, that's later. Like when you watch at it, and I know in Holland we had a lot of discussions, moralistic about like how well or bad it would be. But if I look at that, I can be jealous. Not because I think you have to do a lot, but I do believe in future. And it's so nice that you can run, if you have cars of 300 kilometers an hour, that you, when you have the fuel, you do so. Because that's what I think. Like when you have your money full in your pockets, you should spend it, because you will never be able to build these things when you save it. So I really believe that these things, oops, where do I go? And since the world is like getting bigger and smaller at the same time, we talk about like how full we are, and that may make problems. But then if you let us free and give us holidays, then we also go to the places where you have the most people. So there is a strange thing, if we think about like how full it is, you could better say so much more work still to be done. And that's the same what I don't understand on this time. Like there is said that there is so much that we can do, and as an answer from economics, we send people home because we say we are out of work, because we don't have money. And then you think this is amazing, like it's the best time ever. And then we have to sit at home and enjoy our, I don't know where it goes, out there, and then enjoy our, maybe it's good for all the product designs, because we have been so much focused on leisure that it's all about like the home and the furniture instead of talking about the work. And we spend like so much energy also within design on developing our house, and then go to work, and then going to work, and then we are there for a long time, and then we make it in a sort of an efficiency. And for me, that's an amazing thing, that like you build houses where you hardly are. So it's like for an emptiness to fill. And then most of the time we spend then in the car, which I think is also the amazing thing the industry can do for prices that you don't even understand. Like this kind of thing. And for me, it's already for quite a long time that I'm more focused on the professional place, like where we work, because I find it so amazing that when you go to your work, you get the best machines, the best places, and everything is, because it's professional, it's really done in a way that you can do your work on the best. You could never possess these things that you have on your work in your private life, because then you even have to work harder, which also is the place where you learn the most. I do understand that you need a home to concentrate and to rethink what you have been doing and to have silence. But there where you learn is like where you meet each other and are professionally at work. And that's why I think that we should put a lot of more energy and focus on this on this working environment. And if you think about it, just about the beauty of it, it's amazing, these interiors, like how they look, like how they make, like what they do. I, as a designer, have never ever made anything that can compete with a thing like that. So I can look at it and I can still learn a lot from it. Not going to say I have to do the same, because like That's the nice thing of being another generation. You're allowed to think differently. But if you look at like what it does with the landscape, that is like really amazing. Like if I look at the rural, not at the rural place, but the housing, it's always like a very nice house and a very green street, and that's then where you should live. And then this could have been the same place, like the house you drive on to test it. So this professional world, it's amazing, and most of the time it really starts like very simple. Like transportation has been completely changed through the container. All the things that we can now possess are only possible because the container came. Like as a product designer, that's nice, that you know you can do very small things and you don't have to think about the consequences. The consequences can grow, and when they grow, you can always direct them and redirect them. But at least like imagine, like this is a car that became a car just to support the containers, or and growing into a landscape that is then the harbor, and from above it's like this. So it's just this very small thing that can grow really big. And it's the same with the very big things getting very small. Through the computer, we could count a lot better, and we could develop like machines that can speed up things so fast that we can reinvestigate them. Well, I really think like as a designer, like give me 5 years and probably I can't even reach this direction. So for this world, there is so much more. I don't know why I have to fight with this machine. Oh, that's it. I have to look there and then it goes. But so this is the beauty that you encounter on your work, and we all run away from to have holidays and be on the road and make houses that we think can compete with this or even with this. And this is all being like research and basically starting with the computer, which for me is a celebration of the industrial world, but also like of the working landscape, I would rather say, because it doesn't have to be just like industrial. I feel it more like the whole idea of working landscape. And this is like the clean room. This is the only place where no dust is allowed because it would compete with this. My God. Well, I'm only allowed to go forward. That's very good. So this is then the way we suit ourselves to be sure that we don't lose anything that will go into our laptop later and make all this malfunctions, which also means that we will like look completely different, and we have to develop a new language to talk with each other, to have an identity. And I really believe that this will mean a lot for industry. Like I think industry, or the working landscape, because I really think it's like a broader thing, will be as beautiful and as green as it can get. And therefore it will change, and it will change our society, but also our possibilities. And I think we even have to run really fast if we will be able to get hold on that. And I think maybe that is also the thing. And we always think that the answers will come from science and economics, because there's always shifted in front. And even now that there's like this idea of like investing more in the creative industry, and the only ones that are in front are the applied art or the applied ones, because we think that we need to use things. And I totally disagree on that, because I think that if you would only think that functional, then within 5 years it's incestuous, because we need a diversity of a landscape where we can grow on. And for me, like this is one of, I think, the best example. I think it's the most beautiful piece I know by Francis Alice, which is moving mountains. And I think it's the ultimate situation of progress, that you are able to have hundreds of people doing it without being paid, and going to a place and just shovel a whole mountain, one shovel on the side. Like you would think one of the, like why would you do it? Although we all know that's exactly what we all want. We want to move mountains. And the nice thing is, like when you have moved it, you can barely see it, but you have done it, and you know that you have done it. And when you see the movie that he made with it, the people, they're all connecting because they all feel they're part of something that is so stupid that they don't need to discuss it with each other. So they don't start with the difficult questions, like what do you think and how you should do it. They just start doing it because we all think like if I had thought of it, I would probably do it differently, but this is how we do it. So it's an easy step in. Everybody starts at the same level, and from there you can talk and debate higher, and it depends on who sits next to you. And at the end, the people were really astonished, like what it does to you and how a community grows just by starting doing things without asking, which we are very good in Holland. Like if you go with 6 people in a taxi in Holland, you will never get away because everybody knows like it doesn't fit one, so you don't know which one you would take or how, so you're half an hour talking before going. And this is exactly where I feel that the artist and also elementary science comes in. It's like you don't know where you're heading for, you only know that you're curious and that you are discovering things, and then others will use these things to build things of it. And that's, I think, also the ultimate thing that we got. We got this punishment, and they called it language. And we have to be so happy that they made all these languages in different languages, so we have misunderstanding. Because imagine that misunderstanding would not exist. You would know already what I was saying. You would have gone this morning knowing that I would be late, in a car, rushing, not having finished my thing. So you had seen everything sitting here. You think like, why the hell am I here? If I know everything, see everything. The whole thing is that we have misunderstanding. We had to develop language. And when we develop language, we are able to rediscover. Every generation can rediscover because like they can find out for themselves the whole reality. And of course, they can step further. And that's exactly what I like so much on specific art piece like this one. It's a soft language. I could really imagine that I would say like most horrible things, but if I would have done it with these words, so I would have thrown these letters into the, then even if I said like horrible things, you would feel soft, you would put it on your leg, say, well, it's not so nice what he says, but it still feels good. And it's quite, so you're willing to listen to what I say, and you're also willing to rethink what you thought before. And I think that's so important, that we find a debate language that is not like a solicitor, because in economics we really got a lot from it, because I think all the examples that I showed before, which I think are really amazing, we only exist because the economics was there. But now it's time to find a way of debate, because now we're in the language of solicitor, so there's very little letters that you have to read, and when you read them you only think about like what's not in there. Like it's a language that cuts down everything. It's like fences that they make instead of like opening. And we all know about literature. When you start a book, it just opens and it feels as if it's written just for you. And you understand everything because you grow through it. And I think that is a language we need. And you see it growing. That's so beautiful of this font of Hans van Halen. This is the first written language that I know that you feel comfortable with. Because we all know when you send emails, there's a lot of misunderstanding and everything seems harsh. When you write it with these letters, then you know that it seems like, or it looks like, or maybe. All these words are involved in it. So all the words are softer by the beginning. And I think this is exactly what we need. So we don't have to think like what we should as designers do. I think rather we would think like, what would Google do? Because it's not about like what we should do, it's about like what we would like to do and what we think that is like amazing and startup and trying to redirect that. Because I still think that like we're so good in graphics, like amazingly beautiful graphics we can make, that I can imagine that if I would go to a place that's hard to cover, that I at least go like well-dressed with a nice flag, that I feel at least nice before I sit, before I go to work. And I'm so happy as a designer not to have to do that, because imagine me in a surgery room. That would be horrible. Every piece they give me, I first look, is it nice? Would I like it? Could have it been done by other material? And then I go to the place and then think like, okay, well, that's like, let's think a concept. And then you feel that the worst thing we could do is sending designers on a boat with a mission, because that's like, that's asking for questions. This only thing that still works in the place is the first thing we all think, oh, this is amazing. And we start changing it. And it was the only thing that they could start. So I do believe that we have to rethink and revalue and exactly do what we do good, but also what we like. and find new values, the value of nothingness, because maybe that's the most valuable thing we have at the moment. But these are only openings that are brought by the artist, that brought this kind of thinking, that we as designers, we can step on and go further. And that's exactly why I think education is at the moment the best place to be, because it's the only place that will never stop. If economics stop, and you tell your students that we have hard times, so we have to be like a bit normal, that's the last thing they will do. They will go like for it, like totally. They're open with it, and they can go wherever they want with their minds, because they know we're the next generation. We're also not preparing people for the market, because they will jump over that market immediately. Like, it's the 11-year-old that we should follow, because they are the ones that are already like everywhere. They are in the computer and outside of the computer. If I see my nephews and nieces, then they come in, they never do not do what their parents want, well, of course, but they always want to go to their grandmother, because they don't care. They go there, they shake hands, they kiss, they go upstairs, and they're with their friends immediately. So they don't care anymore where they are. They have their own calendar. They can change that. So they're already ready for the next steps. It doesn't mean that it's a computer world. It just means that you have new tools and new ways of thinking. And exactly that's what we need. We need blank places. We need pioneering. We need to question like what we don't know and where we're heading for. And these blind white spaces that exist on the map, we have to discover them, and I'm very happy that in education it's there. It's a place. It's the only place where everybody comes. Oops, I'm on zero. It's the only place where everybody comes in and brings in all the knowledge, because we all know it's like it's a shared place and it's paid by nothing. It's only active. And it's the place of real and surreal, because I feel like a zero, so I have to time's up. Yes, okay. Then I go very fast with this. It's like, the question is like hyperrealism, or is it still abstract where we're heading for? Are we going to copy, or are we stepping in as Mars into a new world? What we definitely need, and that's like we need the right direction machine. That's so nice, because that's always good. That thing is always pointing. That's so nice about old cars. They have a front that you can follow, not like something you can fall in. All the new cars have no noses. When you look in front, you fall off your road. So you feel that these things we need to change, and we had to, well, I like to change that. You do whatever you want. But it is about a manifesto, but I definitely want these things to happen at the Sandburg Institute, because I'm so happy that I'm in a place where we are able to rediscover without being questioned by reality too much. So next year there are two important things. So we have 4 different, no, this is advertisement, so this doesn't count as the 0 minutes. There's the in-between. But so we start 4 different, we have like, well, you look at the website, we do, I think we're going to do amazing things, but there's 2 people that are going to start, and one is Jersey Seymour. He will be an activist, starting in the Institute and using the blank space to rediscover how education should be, but also like what the role could be as a designer, by celebrating, but also an active role, that things do not exist by doing. So things are just empty if you don't do anything. So as a designer, you're also responsible how it gets activated, and he is the person for that. And the other one is vacancy. And we all know that there is like an incredible big amount of empty space that has to be filled. And the different thing is that since normally the client is the king, which means that the students are always like in front, and I believe that it should be the Institute, and maybe we have also things, topics that should be mainly research. And what we're trying to do with this master is to start with the topic of vacancy, and people will stay 2 years just doing that project with Rietveld Landscape. And it's a tryout, and I think it's good because it's more about, okay, well, okay, watch it, and I hope you enjoyed it.
You know, this is funny. You are the first speaker who didn't show a slide with his own work.
Yes, but
so, whoa. We were talking about the ego this morning. Well, this is completely ego-free. One thing, because I have only time for one question, because you are the director of the Sandburg Institute, and you were talking about a new consciousness. What is the most important thing that you want to teach the designers of the future?
Well, that is the most difficult thing. What I want is to build a small community, and I want to build with that community that has a big diversity. So we just start like a family start. Like ask a family, like, what do you want from your child? And that's killing, because we all know that is.
You want it to be happy.
Exactly. So that's the whole thing. You want it to be happy, and and of course it's about reevaluating. Like, do you want people to be happy, to have storages full of things, because there's only one thing in front of it that you can take, like in the Luna Park, we all know, like the small coins, and then you had like these things pushing, and a lot were in, and then maybe one fell off. And that seems now how it goes with process. So it's hard to say, like, what I do think is, that's why I'm so interested in a working society, is that this is the place we are the most in. It's also the place we work the most. It's also where the things come from. Like being at home means like staying away of the things. So I think it's better to, well, I like it really to go there. And others do other things. That's so nice that we are with such, no, but that's so high, it's the biggest question. That's also what I said. You shouldn't start with the biggest question. You start with very small questions and then follow them. And at a certain point, you are like on top of the mountain, and you have this overview and think, my God, this is the wrong direction. And you go off. Or you think, whoa, amazing that this is possible. But that is so nice about it. And that's why I'm so happy with the name, because it has everything in it. Sandburg, it says everything. It's about letters, it's about communication, it's about...
You need people. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. Jurgen Bij.
What design can do is presented by you by these beautiful brands. Have a good look and buy them. After the break from 25 minutes, there are two breakout sessions. One is called Access to Less, about social responsibility, having less, together with Stichting Doen, and Mr. Tom Maton will be there as well. And the other one is about create a mindful chain for Afghanistan. What can design do? It's about craft, about handwerkerij, and that's by Butterfly Works. Have a nice break, have a nice breakout session, and come back, please.